Okay, the return visit is here, and we have Joe Benigno, WFAN. Oh, the pain.
Mm.
Don't forget about that. Oh, the pain podcast. I failed to mention that the last two times, Joe. My fault. But the Oh, the pain podcast, every time I see it, I tune in. I make a little remark. I look down the little remarks there. Everybody has an opinion. It's actually a great podcast, Joe.
Well, we're on tomorrow. We actually, my wife was away for the weekend, so we didn't do one Friday or Monday because without her, I can't do it. So, but we'll be back tomorrow, uh,
Okay,
uh,
great.
uh, getting it rolling again.
When do you put the new ones out? Any special days?
Monday and Friday. We do Monday
Okay.
and Friday.
Okay. So tomorrow we have the new Ode the Pain
Yep.
podcast, but now
Yep.
we have the Romeo radio show. And
There you
Joe
go.
is good enough to come on, and here we go again. All right, so we'll start with the sports we usually do.
Yep.
Now I have to say, Alonso, 1 year, not
Right.
what we wanted, but at least he's a Met. Yes?
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked a little better contract than basically a 1 year deal, but because we'll see. I mean, at least he's here for this year. We got a good team. Let's win. I mean, we got to. We were win the NLCS last year. We beat the Dodgers twice without Juan Soto. Let's get to that World Series this year. By the
And that
way,
was
I heard that Alonso got hit with a ground ball today. Did you hear this?
I heard the same thing.
Right? He got hit with a ground ball in his face or something like that.
I
In his
heard in the throat. I may be wrong, in the throat.
Is that what it was?
I think that's what I heard. I was listening to Sal,
Right,
and
right.
they broke in. Hoffman broke in, and he said he got clipped in the throat, I think.
Yeah, well, let's hope it's not a big deal. Let's hope so.
I want one time with me, I went down for a ground ball, bang, right in the Adam's apple. I'm telling you,
No, yeah.
it gets better, but it takes time. Takes time. It's not fun. Not fun.
It's like there was a famous play and this is way before even your time, Ralph.
Tony Kubek.
Right, 1960 World Series. That's right, against the Pirates. That turned the whole Game 7. That play turned the whole game around, really, for Pittsburgh. So you're right. You're all over it, Ralph.
That was the bad hop of all bad hops there.
Yep.
I wasn't around to hear, but I know my history. Thanks
Yeah.
to guys like you who know. Your memory's like an elephant.
Well,
If you don't know, Joe,
I lived
Joe
it all. You know what, Ralph? I lived all this stuff. So that's
but
it.
you remember. There's some guys you ask. I'm shocked by what they don't remember.
Right.
I'll
Right.
ask the simplest thing, and they'll say, "Well, I can't get over it." But we were able to recall all these things. Well,
Yes.
Alonso. Now, in hindsight, Joe, let's just talk about this for a second. In hindsight, what was the whole holdup? What do you think caused all this nonsense before the actual contract was signed?
I don't think that Stearns ever wanted him. I mean, I really do. I don't think Stearns really wanted to re-sign him. That's my feeling. I think that day and I was out there that day too. We had a great day, the day of the amazing day out at Citi Field last month. We did the show out there, myself and Sal, on Saturday. The fans got all over Stearns. They started booing Stearns and started chanting Pete Alonso. And I'm sure you're aware, Cohen got involved.
Yeah.
Cohen came on and said how hard the negotiations were. I really think that got it really moving in the right direction. And then apparently he went down to see Cohen and Stearns went to Florida to see Alonso, and they wound up getting it done. And like I said, I would have liked to see more than a 1 year contract, but at least he's here for this year. And I don't think he's gonna be here beyond next year. I really don't, which bothers me. But at least we got him this year. At least we did.
Yeah, I mean, you need some protection for Soto,
Yep.
and he's the guy. That's the whole thing. If you want to sign a guy for a king's ransom, you got to do the ancillary. If you consider that Alonso is a secondary signing, the guy's good enough to think he would be the main guy, if not for this other phenom. But this guy should, serve as protection for your big man in the lineup. You need that guy.
Well, I look at our lineup, and if you put Alonso in now, you got three big time guys with Lindor, Soto, and Pete. And you throw in Vientos. Hopefully, Vientos will have at least as good a year as he did last year. You never know about. You always worry about the Southmore jinxes, they say. But
Yeah,
we'll see what he does. Nimmo, solid player. Hopefully, Francisco Alvarez rebounds from last year offensively. He didn't have a good year offensively last year. You still got guys like McNeil there. Still Tyrone Taylor. We'll see about this guy Siri, who I guess is going to play center field. But you got a lot of young guys. You got Acuna. You got Mauricio. It looks like he'll be coming back. We should be good. We got Soto in right field. The pitching worries me a little bit. Montas is out, and I never understood the signing of Montas. I never thought he was any good
Yeah,
anyway.
I didn't
But
get that either.
right. But we'll see. I mean, can Minaya do what he did last year? Can Peterson do what he did last year? Is Senga healthy? So we'll see. But at the very least, Ralph, our lineup looks pretty good. I'll say that.
Yeah, it looks like a great. In the season last year, you can't complain. They didn't take it to fruition, but man, there was a very
Great,
much a
terrific year.
fun season.
Yeah, yeah. And next to the 2 championship years, to me, that was the best year we ever had. Was last year. I
No
thought it
doubt
was a
about it.
tremendous season. Yep.
Okay, let me have your thoughts on the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I begged off the Super Bowl. I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. And I actually watched the halftime show. What a debacle. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the Super Bowl itself, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the bottom line on the game was that the chief offensive line couldn't block the Eagles. I mean, that would to me was the story, and they were doing it with a 4-man rush. There was no blitzing at all. They just destroyed Mahomes. I don't think he ever had a chance. I mean, he had a terrible game, but he had no chance. He threw 2 big picks, the 1 pick six. The game was really over at halftime. Give Jalen Hurts credit; he was terrific. But that to me, the story of the game was the Eagle pass rush. That was they just beat up on Mahomes. Really did.
Did you have a feeling that the Chiefs were in for it? But did you pick the Chiefs to win? I didn't hear your
I
prediction.
did pick the Chiefs to win because, to me, they're the champs. Until they lose, I got to go with them. But I think what happened was that it all finally caught up to them, Ralph. I mean, they lived on the edge all year. I mean, they went 15-2. They really only lost one game because the Denver game, they mailed that game in. It didn't matter. So they didn't play anybody, you know. But they won all these close games all year, blocked field goals, missed field goals at the end. The first game of the year against Baltimore, the guy steps on the line where it looks like it's going to be the game time touchdown. It was that close. So they lived on the edge all year. But you got Patrick Mahomes. He's one of the all-time greats. But you know, I think for them, if the game would have been close, they probably would have won. For the Eagles did what they had to do. They blew them out, and left no doubt about it.
Let's talk about that halftime show.
Mm,
So
really?
I watched the highlights just to see what the halftime show was going to end up being. I couldn't stand it, Joe. I don't know what your opinion is.
Well, let me just say this. I really could care less about the halftime shows of the Super Bowl, and I didn't even watch it. I got to tell you,
You
I don't
didn't
even
tune
know.
in?
I had no idea what the whole. I had never heard of Kendrick Lamar. I know I
Me
had some of my family here, and they were watching. They were into watching it. My daughter, husband, and my grandson. You know, during halftime. I went in the back and watched Mark Levin, who was on at the same time. So that's basically what I didn't even
you're
see
wa-
the halftime.
you're
So
watching
that's
you're watching Mark Levin during Super
yes. I
Bowl
got
time.
to got to watch Life, Liberty, and Levin. Man, I love the guy. So that's what I was doing at halftime.
Oh man, I never thought that, but well, that's interesting about the halftime because it's a microcosm of the country. To me, you want to see where America is. Check out the debacle at halftime in the Super Bowl game. You'll see exactly where we stand in 2025. What a
Well,
mess! Because I had to
yeah.
see because I wanted to bring it up on my radio show, so I have to go look at it. So I saw it and I said, I'm either so out of touch or I'm the
Mm,
only man in America that has some taste because that sucked with a capital S, and
yeah.
I could not stand it. But again, the whole thing, it's anticlimactic to me, the Super
Mhm.
Bowl, Joe.
Oh
The
yeah. No, the Super Bowl
NFC
is
and the AFC is the culmination of the season. The
yes,
Super Bowl is kind of
yes,
anticlimactic.
yes, yeah. No, I there's no question about. Look, and to me, the Super Bowl was it. Look, it was as a Jet fan, it was our 56th consecutive year without a Super Bowl appearance.
But
Okay,
who's counting?
well, right. So
You are.
it's always a bad day, and it was even worse because that's the day we found out Aaron Rodgers was not coming back to the Jets, and I am not happy about that. I can tell you right now.
Well, I know that for a fact. I'm with you on that. I don't have a stake in the Jets, but I'm with you on that. Tell me
Mhm.
what you think about. I know where you stand on it, but tell me what you think about the reasoning behind the whole mess.
Well, I think the reason is that I think the owner wanted him out. I mean, that's me. He could tell me forever that Aaron Glenn and Darren Muhay, however you say his name, the new GM, that it was their call. I don't believe that for a second. And you can't tell me. I mean, look, this team has some talent. There was no reason, and especially if it's true that Rodgers wanted to come back, which it seems like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you bring him back for another year. You draft a young quarterback, develop that kid behind Rodgers, and to me, the best chance for us to win this year was bringing Aaron Rodgers back. I mean, I'm sorry.
I
I mean, who's
agree.
our quarterback now? I mean, I'm hearing Kirk Cousins. I don't want Kirk Cousins. I mean, come on. So I'm very upset about the whole Jet situation. And to me, this is why they never win. It's funny. I was watching one of the 30 for 30s. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Hmm.
They do a great job on them, ESPN. And it was the one Elway to Marino about the 83 draft with the quarterbacks,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And, this is what I needed to see that again to remind me just how bad it is. That was another mistake the Jets made. Why didn't they draft Dan Marino? They took, Ken O'Brien, and he was an okay quarterback, but the Jets should have took Marino. There he was sitting there for them, and they made that mistake. And now, all these years later, 42 years later, whatever it is, they make another big mistake by letting Rodgers go, in my mind. So, what can I tell you? That's why they never win, bro. I hope Aaron Glenn turns out to be a good coach for us. The only reason, look at if Aaron Glenn would have been just another coordinator who had never been a head coach before, coming from another team, I wouldn't have been happy about it. The fact that he was a former Jet and a very good Jet, and he wanted the job, made it a little easier to deal with. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
We'll
he
see.
has Jets. He has Jets Foundation.
Yeah.
He was a
Yep.
guy you rooted for years back.
Good
It's
player.
better than getting somebody just out of the blue, and
Right.
I think that's something maybe you can live with it. But you got a 1 to 2 year rebuilding situation now. The best.
But
I
you
mean,
know
I don't
what, Ralph? It shouldn't be. They
tell me.
got a lot of nice young
You
players
think
on this
so?
team. Yeah, I mean, come on. You got Garrett Wilson, you got Brees Hall, you got three solid guys on the offensive line. The defense, even though they had a bad year last year, you still got guys like Sauce Gardner. You still got Quinn and Quincy Williams. You got Jermaine Johnson coming back. I mean, Sherwood, who they need to sign. They still got some players on this team. I mean, do we really have to go through another, double-digit losing season? I mean, what else can I say, bro? I'm disgusted with the whole thing. I really am.
You think you have a 500 team next year?
I don't know who's my quarterback. Who's the quarterback?
That's a
I have
good
no
question. If you
idea.
don't know, I don't know. I mean,
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That it comes down. Look, I think they need to no matter what veteran guy they bring in. And I tell you a guy that I'd be interested in. You had Justin Fields, obviously Kirk Cousins. I mean, you keep hearing that because he's only 1.2 million as a stopgap. I mean, come on. We had Aaron Rodgers is still better than Kirk Cousins. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, we let him go. We're going to bring Kirk Cousins in, whatever. I would draft a quarterback with that 7th pick in the draft, even if it's stretch. I really do. Because we got to get a young quarterback here, Ralph. It's got to
Yeah.
happen at some point. You know what I mean? Got to happen.
If you let Rogers go, you
soon.
got to go for the young guy.
Right. Soon.
To me, you can't bring in a has-been or somebody that can't do the job. At least go for the young guy now. But, I hope you have some sort of a competitive season coming up. That'd be nice.
You know what I wouldn't mind signing? And I don't know what Minnesota's situation with him is. I'd take a shot at Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones has an upside. He's only 27. I think he'd be 28 by the time the year starts. He's still young. He never had an offensive line with the Giants. He really never did. He got the crap beat out of him. The one year he did go to the playoffs. He does have ability. He can run. He can throw the football. And we see this all the time with these quarterbacks, Ralph. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at Geno Smith. I mean, there's guys that Baker Mayfield, they wind up somewhere else and they get a little more mature and, the right coaching and they turn out to be pretty good. So Daniel Jones is intriguing to me. I don't know what Minnesota is going to do with him, but, who knows? I'm just throwing that name out there because I think he does have an upside.
You get in the right system under the right head coach.
Right.
Everything turns around. You say it's not even the same guy that you saw before. Daniel Jones, very hot and cold with me because I see him one time. I say, man, he's a mess.
Right.
But the next time you say, this guy's got ability. This guy, if put in the correct situation, can maybe do something.
Yeah, and he's
And
still young. He's still in his late
how
20s.
old is
So
he now? Mid
20.
20s?
I think he's 28 when the year starts.
And you
You
like the
know.
coach. You like Glenn. You like the whole choice there.
Well, I don't. I like it because he was an ex-Jet and he wants the job. I
Mhm.
don't know what he's going to be as a head coach. He could stink. I mean, come on. I mean, so I have no idea what he's going to be as a head coach. If he's as good a coach as he was a player, then we got some.
And what do you think about the controversy or the conspiracy theory about these NFL games being rigged, so on and so forth? These officials in the bag, or even the Super Bowl. They were saying how the Chiefs had the leg up because the Taylor Swift situation. What do you think about that? Any credence to that?
I don't trust the officials in the NFL. You know that. I have no. The officiating
Yes.
to me in the NFL is a disaster. I put nothing by anything with that. So
You think it's a
I think there's too
concerted
many
effort?
rules, too many rules, um, too many. You could call a holding penalty anytime you want. Pass interference, defensive holding. It makes me crazy. So I don't even. I don't trust the officials at all.
But
I
do
don't.
you think there's a concerted effort for one team over another, that kind of thing?
I
Or it's
do
just
think I'll say this. I think the Chiefs get the benefit of the doubt. If it's a close call, they're going to get the call.
mm,
That's my feeling. They're going to
mm.
get the call. I do
And
think that.
no matter what they did on Super Bowl Sunday, they
Well,
couldn't
you know what though? I'll
overcome
say
the
this,
Eagles thing.
Ralph.
Yeah,
I think once they get to the Super Bowl, it
yeah.
doesn't matter whether they win or not. Now, you know what I mean? I think it's just a matter of let's get the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. Let's get the because it doesn't matter now. There's not a game after that anymore anyway. You know what I mean?
That's
So you're
true.
still going to get Taylor Swift up there, and by the way, you talk about the halftime show. Not that I'm a fan of Taylor Swift at all, and she got booed. I think the Eagle fans were the ones really booing her, but whatever. At the Super Bowl, you talk about the halftime show. Why isn't she doing a half?
I know.
Why isn't Taylor Swift doing a halftime show? She's the darling of the league. Shouldn't she be doing a freaking halftime show? Not that I'm into
I
Taylor
have a
Swift at
feeling.
all.
Well,
You don't
don't well,
understand what I mean, Ralph? Am
yeah,
I
I
wrong
do.
about this?
I certainly do. Jay-Z, another guy I have no idea about. I just know the name. I know
Well,
his whole
he's a
thing.
big time guy. There's no
Yeah,
doubt.
right. But
Got a lot of money.
Jay-Z has taken over the halftime festivities for the last maybe 7, 8 years. And this is why every year you see the same type of music,
Well,
the same
you know what? I wonder if you're going to see that, next year. I wonder, So we'll see. I mean, there's been a movement in the country, more to the right here. I'll say it that way. So I wonder if you're going to see the same kind of thing next year.
Well, Taylor Swift gets
But I
introduced
can't
or
understand why Taylor Swift isn't doing the
you're
halftime
so
show.
right. I thought
I
here's
mean,
here's
come
the
on,
dark
what are we
you
doing
named
here?
her. The
Right,
darling,
right,
the darling of
right,
the NFL, the
they
darling of
love
the
her. Right.
she has set all kinds of records. You can go back to Michael Jackson, the Beatles, whomever you want to talk about. Taylor Swift has sold more music, more
Mhm.
records. It's not sold by records anymore, but you get my drift. So more music than anybody ever. And there she is sitting in the stands instead of on the stage. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, I mean, look, it's not like she's not going to get paid to do it. So, why not her? Well, I'm, next year she should be doing it.
All right,
That's me.
so we had the NFL officials sometimes in the bag
Mhm.
for one team or the other, just because they have favoritism and they lean toward one city more so than the other. New York, I feel New York gets the short shrift all
Oh,
the time.
please. No
I've
matter
always
what it is,
thought that way.
no matter which sport it is, what team it is, it doesn't matter. If the Yankees tried to do or the Mets tried to do what the Dodgers have been able to do in LA, there's no way in hell that would be happening. No way. No way
Yeah.
would they have allowed the contract that Otani got in LA to be happening with either of the New York teams. No, and I don't want to get into the whole thing with his interpreter, who's now doing 5 years in jail, and I don't, that whole deal. You telling me Otani had no nothing about this? Come on, give me a break.
You read my mind every time. That's my next question because
Right.
Otani's sitting there with the multi-million dollars. He has no idea. Was the figure $40 million, Joe? That was taken. Was it something 40 or 70?
It's something absurd that
It's
this
something
that the
like between
interpreter
40
did.
and $50 million.
Right.
And
Right.
I
It's a
don't
big
care if you
number.
have what you have. when $50 million is unaccounted for, you got to be aware of that, wouldn't you
Right.
think?
Well, you would think so. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's money going toward the Social Security for the 3 million people that are between 130 and 139 years old. If you've been following, if you've been
The guy,
following that.
you're so right. You're so right. And the poor, well, I meant to say the poor guy. The guy was underhanded, but the guy's going to do a prison term. The other guy's going to play baseball.
Right. Well, let me
That's the
say
way it
this about
goes.
Otani. Okay, I hope
Yeah.
that when this interpreter gets out of jail, that Otani's taking care of him. Let's hope so, Ralph.
Let's hope so.
Yep.
Let's hope so. He took the brunt of the whole thing.
Yep.
So let's
Yep.
hope so. All right, the tournament within the tournament, I like to call it. The NBA has this little thing going. I don't pay attention to it, Joe. I don't know the minutia, so I don't know what they do. But the NHL has the same thing. Major League Baseball has the World, what is it? The World
World
Cup,
Baseball Classic.
World Baseball Classic. That our relief pitcher got hurt a couple of
Yes.
years back. So
Edwin Diaz
it was so
celebrating. Yes.
drastically. Why does major sports in America, like the NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, why do we need this tournament within the season?
Well, I'll tell you what, I really didn't give a damn about this thing going on in the NHL, but I got to tell you, considering the political ramifications now that surround everything with Canada, you
Hmm.
know, the game the other night when USA won 3-1 up in Montreal, they were booing the national anthem and all of that. They had fights break out, 9 seconds into the game. I'm actually into the game tonight because this is the championship game tonight. It's USA Canada. It's going to be very, very interesting. And like I said, I could care less, Ralph. But when you figure in, everything about, Don calling Canada the 51st
Yeah,
state and he calls Justin Trudeau the governor. By the way, let me say this. I wouldn't want Canada being the 51st state. They're
no,
far too liberal. I mean, Canada is more liberal than New York and California combined.
hard to
So, I
believe.
mean, from my viewpoint, I want no part of Canada being the 51st state. And I don't know if Don's serious or not. You never know. He says a lot of things to twist. He loves to do the twisting. But I doubt that's
Hey,
going to happen. But it really put a lot of juice into this USA Canada game tonight. There's no
hey,
doubt
he turned
about
the
it.
Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of
Gulf of
America. So
America. Right.
what
Right.
do you think about that?
Well, why not? What look, if Barack Obama can change the name of Mount McKinley to Denali, okay, then why can't Donald Trump turn the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America? That's
And now we're
that's me.
shooting for Greenland. We're shooting for we want to conquer the world.
Greenland actually makes sense only from the fact of for security, for world security. I think it does make sense in a lot of ways. There's only 50,000 people that live there. I think they only got 4 hours of
I know.
sunlight a day there,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. So Greenland to me is a little more realistic, certainly than Canada. I'll say that.
What do you say, hon? We'll take a trip to Greenland soon, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if you want
We
to
could
go
we
there.
could isolate ourselves.
You'll be very isolated.
Because it's worse than Montana. I went through Montana one time, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always say that was so overpopulated. You go through Montana, you say, here's room beyond compare for everybody that needs
Right.
it right here. It's a huge country and plenty of room for everybody. But
I had one of my daughters went to the University of Montana,
oh,
so
really?
I was out there. I mean, this is
Beautiful country.
she graduated 20 years ago, more than that. But
Mm.
yeah, no, I was out there for that.
All right, we're over a month in with our friend Trump in the White House.
Mm.
Now the grade a month in. What would be your grade?
I mean, I think you got to give him an A. I mean, he's come in, just guns blazing. I mean, he's, the whole thing with the mass deportation that's going on right now. Trying to end these, what happened in Gaza, getting the hostages out. Unfortunate today that if you saw, 4 dead bodies were
I
let
did
out
see
today,
that.
including that family, that mother with the 2 little kids. It's just tragic. But they got 6 more hostages coming out on Saturday. So you got that going. Everything he said about Gaza, that he wants to, the United States wants to buy Gaza. Who knows how that's going to play out? But I think he does that to, get Jordan involved, get Egypt involved, the whole thing. And he's trying to end the war in Ukraine. Even though everybody's all over him about it, I don't see anybody else trying to stop it. I mean, do you want the war to go on forever? So Look, I mean, so far, it's been outstanding, and what he's doing with Elon and Doge, exposing all this wasted money. This U.S. AID. He's looking. They just fired 6,000 people at the IRS. I mean, all the stuff he's doing. You know, the first the first time he was president, he talked about draining the swamp, but he didn't realize just how deep the swamp was. Okay,
True.
and he didn't have the right people with him. He still was he was a rookie in politics, is what he
Hmm.
was. So I think even though we had to endure the last 4 brutal years, it was the best thing that could happen because Don sat around and he was ready to go this time. I mean, he had his plan set for what he had to do to to get this government to be streamlined and to cut all this wasted money when they're sending $2 million to wherever it is, to Guam or wherever, for condoms. I mean, what are we
The
doing?
pr- when they outlined the programs, Joe, when they
Right,
said exactly where that money was going, anybody with a head on their shoulders
right,
said this has to stop.
right.
I mean,
Well,
I do.
The Democrats are screaming about it. I'm just singing "We Shall Overcome."
Some
Whatever
of the
they're doing.
Yeah, I heard that. Some of these programs, Joe, some of these programs are absurd. They are. You
Unbelievable.
you wouldn't even, if they weren't true,
Yep.
you'd say somebody were playing a joke on you.
Right.
These programs are ridiculous. And
By the way,
I'm not as yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm just going to say. By the way, Cash Patel got is in now as the
He
head
was
of the
approved.
FBI. So
Yeah.
they voted him in today, which is great. Don's basically got everybody in. I mean,
Yep.
everybody in his cabinet has gotten in.
I
Uh,
thought RFK Jr. was going to have a hard time, but he was approved.
you know
What do you
what?
think of RFK Jr.?
Well, let me just say this. I watched a lot. I watched a lot of the hearing with RFK. When he was when the Senate hearing and all of that.
Hmm.
And I tell you, man, he laid Bernie Sanders out. When Bernie Sanders started talking about the vaccines and all of this, and he said, "Wait a minute, Bernie, how much money did you make from the pharmaceutical companies last year?" I think he made like 1.3 million from the pharmaceutical, from Pfizer or whatever. And Bobby called him out on it. And Sanders is like giving the humana humana. I
Yeah,
mean, these
yeah.
guys they're all making money. It's really amazing to me. And it took Trump to really let me open my eyes to what's really going on. But you look at these people, you look at Joe Biden didn't have this kind of money when he got into politics.
Right.
You know, how much money did he make illegally from China? His whole family, he pardoned his family at the end of his term. Why? They weren't even indicted or anything. Why are you pardoning them? Because he knows it's all corrupt. The Obamas, okay? The Obamas, when they took over, right? They didn't have a home in Hawaii. They didn't have a home in Martha's Vineyard. They didn't have a townhouse in Georgetown or whatever. They didn't have a $3-4 million deal, whatever it is. It's probably a lot more than that from Netflix. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? So
Right.
these people get into politics and all this money. Nancy Pelosi made all this money on insider trading and all of this kind of stuff, And that's another reason they hate Don because Don made his money already. He doesn't owe anybody anything.
You go in there, $300,000 salary. You come out a
I think it's 400. Right. I think it's
millionaire.
400. I think
All
for the
right, four
president,
hundred
it's
thousand
400.
dollars salary. You make multi millions.
Right.
Nobody asks any
Right.
questions. It's just
Right.
the nature of politics. It's
Right.
actually assumed that if you get to this level, you're
Mm-hmm.
going to come out a very wealthy person, and that's
Right.
really. And if you could put a stop to that,
That's what. Right.
all the grifting, you'd be doing something
Well, that's
tremendous.
what he's doing. That's what he's
Yeah,
trying to do.
no doubt
And of
about
course the left is killing him. The media, of course, that all hates him, and the Democrats all delirious because they don't know what to do. They got their ass kicked, and this they're still blaming it on it was racism, it was misogyny. Nobody I mean stop. No,
I'll give you one thing that I don't care for, and you may
what's that?
disagree.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, brilliant guy, and
Right, right, right,
when he's in his venue, there's nobody better. I can't put the guy down. Look at the innovative things
right, right.
he brought forth, right? But tell me something. When people say, well, he wasn't elected to anything, this is still, America, we elect our officials. Is he having too much of a say in the White House right now, Joe? I
Well,
seem to think that he is. You tell
well,
me.
see, I don't, but this is, he was with Don throughout the campaign. We
Hmm.
knew what we were getting. Don talked about this when he was, if you saw the rallies, all his rallies, Elon was with them basically the whole time, certainly ever since the assassination attempt in July, the first one when he almost got killed in his
Hmm.
ear. By the way, are we ever going to see an investigation about that? I
No,
mean,
that's over.
come
That's
on.
over. It never happened.
Well, right, right. That's right. That's the way the media wants you to think, and the Democrats too.
They
But
cremated the guy within a day.
yeah, he was dead in 10 seconds. But I don't want to get into all that. Hopefully, eventually, Don's already trying to get all the information out from the JFK assassination, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and hopefully we're going to, because I think the government was involved in all three of those. And certainly to me, the government was involved in Don too. I mean, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't. You can't tell me otherwise.
Well, you
Um,
like Musk playing such a
I
big
do.
role?
You know why? Because he's a brilliant guy and he's another untouchable guy. He's another guy. He's the richest man in the world. He's not in there to make money. Just like Don. Don's not there to make money. Don doesn't need this. Don could be playing golf every freaking day. I mean, he doesn't need, he didn't need the lawfare and all the crap that he went through, you know? And let's be honest, if Don didn't win the election, he'd be in jail now. They'd have him in jail if he didn't
That's
win the
true.
election. Let's be
Now
honest.
tell me, what do you think is behind a very wealthy man, Donald Trump? What is
Right.
the reason why he's president? He has a 4-year hiatus, comes back again.
Right.
What's his motivation, if not, the usual power, money? What is
I think
his
he loves the
motivation?
country. I think he
You really think
realizes that. I think he's a total patriot. I think he loves the country, and he realizes that there's only one person that can, not only save the country but save the world. I mean, I don't. To me, and look, I know I'm a big Don guy, but you know what, Ralph? This guy is a freak of nature. This guy's 78 years old. He's got more juice than anybody. I don't care how old they are. I mean, this guy's unbelievable. You see, he was doing 3 rallies a day during the campaign, just the way he's doing now. He's up all the time. Every day he's doing a press conference. Joe Biden, I don't think how many press conferences did he do in 4 years? Don's doing one basically every day in the Oval Office.
Joe Biden was
I mean,
so
come on.
compromised, so
Right,
compromised. He was in such bad
right,
shape.
right,
They
right.
covered it up so.
No
Oh,
question.
they went to every length
No
imaginable
question.
to cover it up. He was really, I know in a way you got to feel sorry for the guy. If he wasn't such a crook,
Right,
I'd feel sorry for the guy. I
right.
still do feel sorry for anybody like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I know dementia. When I see dementia, this guy was
Of
definitely
course. And they,
suffering.
and they covered it. Look, the Democratic Party covered it up. The media covered it up. Let's be honest about it. They all knew. Kamala Harris didn't know that this guy was impaired. They all didn't know he was impaired, and they
Going
were
back
going
to
to.
Ukraine, going back to
Yeah,
Ukraine for a minute, Joe.
yes.
I'm glad the intervention is happening. I'm glad Trump's doing something about it. But here's my one criticism.
Mhm.
Why did he not go to Zelensky first instead of going to Russia first to see
You
Putin
know,
first? Why?
I understand that, and he's getting heat for that. But look, to get this war ended, it's got to go through Putin. It's got to. I mean, you're not. I mean, look, for 3 years, Joe Biden didn't even talked to this guy. You got to talk to him. I mean, there's no way the war ends if you're not going through Putin. And I think this too with Zelensky. Okay, he kind of some of the stuff Don said about Zelensky, and he called him a dictator, and all this different stuff. But I think Don looks at it this way: Hey, wait a minute. We funded you, this country. How many billions did we give to Ukraine, Ralph, to keep this war going? Okay, all the
Endless,
money, the
endless.
weapons, everything that they gave that this country. I know it wasn't Trump that did it, but everything that this country gave to keep the war going and to keep Zelensky going. And I think Don's looking at it now. Hey, wait a minute. We got to get something back for this. They talk about the European countries and NATO and all this. You know, yeah, they've given money to Ukraine, but they've given it to them on a loan. We didn't loan it. We just gave them here. Here's another few billion. I think that's part of it. I think that's part of why he's said what he said. And I think at the end of the day, it'll all be straightened out. I really do. I think he's doing this for every look. I look at Trump and I think everything he does is for a reason. Everything he does.
We
You
wrote
know.
blank checks to
Right.
Ukraine
Right. Right.
and it was a
Right.
nonstop charitable. I mean,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
going. It was going to go on forever, and
Right.
and and
Oh,
most of that money was not accounted for. There's no. We don't know where that
well,
weaponry.
even
The
Zelensky, Ralph, even Zelensky said he only seen half of the money that we gave him. Now, I don't know if I believe him. I don't know if he can be trusted. But if that's true, where's the other half a gazillion dollars? Where did it go?
I mean, can
Right.
Trump can the president ever find that out?
Well, I don't know if
That's
they're
a
ever going to find it out.
lot of money. We used to give we did give money to Iran that way, but
Right.
never in the
Right.
numbers that we gave it to Ukraine.
No, no. But I
And
mean, look, I mean, it's a you hear Michael Waltz talking about it. He's I forget what he is. One of the things for the defense that he's
mhm.
involved in. Okay, they had Rubio over there, Witkoff, Steve Witkoff, who's done a great job. He's been doing the negotiations in
Yeah, he's
Gaza.
actually
Now
very good.
right. He was in Gaza. Now he went to Saudi Arabia with those guys to get this stuff going with Russia. I mean, the war's got to end. I mean, it's amazing how many people have been killed. I mean, and that's what makes me laugh. They're all criticizing Trump, but what do you want this war to go on and on? If
No,
Kamala would have won, let's be honest, Ralph. If Kamala would have won the election, this war would have never ended.
I agree.
We would have just kept giving money to Ukraine, and there would have been no effort to end the war whatsoever.
Oh, well,
So
one thing you can say about Donald Trump, he hates war.
yes, he
Like we
does.
hate war, like the
Right,
person
right,
with any brains hates war,
right.
and he does everything he can to stay out of these wars. And I give him immense credit for
Well,
that
there when
because
the first 4 years there was no wars, but
that's right.
unfortunately, this time he came into a real brutal situation. I
Oh,
mean,
no doubt.
the country. I mean, you look at the situation with the eggs and all of that. They're ripping him for the price of eggs. Wait a minute. What are you talking about? This bird flu happened when Joey was president. I mean, the economy. It's gonna take a while to get the economy down. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It ain't happening in a month. You know what I mean?
He did this great thing, Joe, for New York City.
Oh my God, the congestion tax. Yes.
oh, when he with one
Yep.
swipe of a pen or one swipe of a hand, he lifted that whole thing. Governor Hochul was having a fit. He
Yep.
he he did the best thing. Now, if this goes through, it's not solid yet, Joe. It's not
Right.
100%
Right.
yet. I
Right.
hear
It's still
I don't know
happening. It's
all
still
the
happening. It's going to go to
yeah,
court. It's
I
going to
hope
be in
so.
courts. It's
But
going to be in
it's the
courts.
best thing. Do you know
Yep.
the restaurants were suffering,
Yep.
the
Yep.
the
Yep. Yep.
museums, the Broadway shows were suffering. He did a wonderful thing with that.
Yeah. And if you got to go to the city every day, I mean, come on. If you work in Jersey and you got to work, you have to drive. I mean, come on. That's $45 a week you're paying. How
It's a
much
lot
a
of
month
money.
is that? On top of the almost 20,
Tolls
the $20 you're paying to get over the GW Bridge or the
and the
Lincoln Tunnel.
parking
Right.
and
Right.
everything else. By the time, I was saying to Cindy, by the time you the tolls, the $60
Yeah.
parking,
Oh yeah.
you're down $100. Then you got it that $9 that Hochul actually said, well, it's only going to be $9.
Instead
You
of
people
15.
should not don't
Right.
complain. Look what
You're
I'm
saving
doing.
$6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
look what I'm
right.
doing. I'm making it $9. What's wrong
Right.
with you people? She came out with a statement. I don't know if you heard it this morning. Did you hear this statement, the latest by Hochul?
Maybe. Maybe.
She said, Joe, now I'm not quoting verbatim, but close. She said, well, I look out for the true New Yorkers, the real New Yorkers, the ones in Manhattan, the people from New Jersey. They can come. They have a choice. This is the one thing that's being missed here. They have a choice. They don't have to come here if they don't want to come here. I have news for her.
What if you
New
work there?
Jersey is huge for New York's
Of
economy.
course. Of
They go
course.
over there to be waiters in restaurants, to work in the city, and she really gave them short shrift today.
Well,
Terrible.
look, I worked in the city for 30 years up
I
until I
know.
retired in 2020, and I had to pay taxes. I had to pay all the taxes. I had to pay Jersey tax. I had to pay the federal. I had to pay New York. I had to pay New York City. I had to pay all these freaking taxes. It was a joke. I mean, come on. And what are you going to do if you work in New Jersey? I mean, you're stuck. So look, I think a lot of this has to do with everything going on with Mayor Adams.
Oh yeah.
Let's be honest about it. The talk about her removing him, and the only reason there's even a discussion about that is because Don now he's in line with Don. Don went to bat for him. I guess he got this whatever indictment, whatever it was, overturned. Which by the way, there was nothing until until Adams said, "Wait a minute, wait a minute, we got to do something about these illegals coming here, right? And he
Mhm.
went to go to Washington to try to straighten that out. And the next thing he knows, he's getting an indictment. Let's be
I
honest,
know it's
because he's
yeah,
fucking Biden and all of that. So
yeah.
that's a big part of this too. There's no doubt about it. But look, it's
Well,
great.
you know what I said on my
Great
show
about the
last night.
congestion tax.
Yeah, you're right. I said on my show last night, I said just for spite, just because she despises Trump so much, she's going to fire Adams by Monday. I predict that Adams is out.
Yeah, I
Because
don't know about that. I don't know about that. He's already got her on the congestion tax. They sued her already. You saw where the new Attorney General Pam Bondi sued
yeah,
them for this. What is it? The green light law, where
yes,
they give out driver's licenses to illegals in New York. What is that? What are you talking
I
about?
know, I
You know?
know, I know. Anybody can get a license in that
Yep.
city. It's a
Yep.
joke.
Yep.
But see, the thing is, he was a darling of the whole all the Democrats there in the city until he became very close with President Trump because
Of course.
he wants his pardon.
Right.
Now they're out to get him. Now it's
Yeah.
no holds barred. They want to get him.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to get him. I don't know about that. I don't know how that's going to work out. Hochul's a disaster. I mean, come on, she's a horrific governor. I mean,
He always says the
thank.
wrong thing.
Oh my God. I mean, please. I mean, but this is New York. Keep voting for these Democrats, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
That's
There's
Cuomo's.
a good chance. Let me just say this: there's a good chance Andrew Cuomo is going to be
Yep,
the mayor.
I was just going to say that.
Right? Come
And
on.
Cuomo still has cachet, Joe. There
Yes.
are people there that
Yeah.
are diehard Cuomo fans.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
don't be too surprised if he's your next mayor.
No, look, I'm not gonna I wouldn't be surprised at all. Why would I?
You think Curtis Lewa has a shot?
No, no,
I
I
don't
just
think
don't
so
think
either.
I just don't think a Republican can win in New York City. I mean, I think it's almost impossible at this point.
He left his radio job. The whole ABC crowd down the dial there. They cleaned everybody out. They're all running for office. Frank Morano, Curtis,
Everybody but my buddy Sid Rosenberg, who is
Sid
he's not
Rosenberg.
running for office yet, not yet.
Well, they're trying to get him to run for mayor. They actually there's a movement trying to get Sid to run for mayor, but
Oh my
A
God.
Republican can't win.
No.
Giuliani was it was a different time.
Right. Well, Bloomberg was a Republican too.
Bloomberg too.
Now he's changed, but Bloomberg was a good mayor too. I
Good
mean,
man.
the city was safe. I look at all the years that I worked in the city, bro. And I used to be, when I was doing TV, I did TV for 8 years. I do the radio in the morning, television in the afternoon, when I was working for SNY. I was on the subway like 4 times a day. I never, Ralph, ever felt threatened. I never felt unsafe. I was in the city all the time. I never felt threatened by anything. Now, the stuff that's happened on the subway, the thing with Daniel Penny, the thing with the illegal burning the woman on the
Uh,
subway. I mean, well, people
it
getting
was
thrown in front of the tracks. I mean, come on.
Well,
I,
this is
you
what I
know,
say all the time. When you're standing on the platform, folks, I don't mean to preach.
right,
Please be aware who's around you. I
right,
see people standing near the
right.
edge of the platform, Joe, right by the track, and they got the earbuds in. They're paying no attention, no matter what's in the news, Joe. You hear it time after time, somebody getting pushed. They're still standing there and bopping to the music.
Yeah,
You got to pay attention on those platforms, folks. I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
have to.
But you know
Uh,
what, though, Ralph? Like I said, all those years, I never was concerned about that. I never thought somebody's going to push
Different
me into.
time, different
Right,
time.
right, right.
I got
Completely
stopped on the
different.
subway. Listen to this story, Joe. I was doing Shakespeare in a theater on the Upper West. Actually,
Right,
I
right.
would go home with
What,
my
what were you
school
what were you doing, Macbeth? What were you doing?
King Lear,
King Lear. Oh, that's a good
and
one.
I wasn't
Shakespeare
playing
was great.
Lear.
By the way, Shakespeare is great, no
I was
doubt.
playing the bastard son, Edmund.
Oh God.
Perfect casting. I would bring a sword home every day
Right,
to practice at home. My fighting. And the cops stopped me like I was surrounded by 6 cops. What are you doing with
right.
that sword? What's going on with that sword? I had to talk my way out of it. But that's how many cops used to be down there looking for mischief back in those days. This is probably maybe 1999 or so,
Oh God,
98
man.
or so.
That's a complete
No
different
matter
world, man.
no matter what they say, Joe, when you go down in that train, there are no cops to be found. Not
Not
really.
really.
You're on
Not
your
really.
own down there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
I
no
know.
authority. In the train itself, there's nobody. Once those doors
Nobody.
close, and back then I didn't think about it. I never
Right.
worried about it. I
Right.
saw some
Right.
weird things, but I never worried about my life.
Right. Yeah. No, there was weird things. People come on and sing. You know,
Yeah,
you'd have different things. Different guy come on and do break dances and stuff. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that kind of stuff happened. But like I said, I never felt threatened ever on the subway, bro. Never. I have to say, in all those years. Now, I don't think I'd go near a subway now.
And she keeps on. I still ride the subways when I go in, and I'm just doing it because it's the best way to get from point A
Right.
to point B.
Yes.
There's
Right.
no easier way,
No.
and I just can't afford the Uber nonstop. I
Yeah.
just can't.
And it's a pain
But
in the rear end. I mean, you want to drive, even to take a cab around the city. I mean, you're still subject to traffic.
well, the
So,
bike lanes are the next task for our
yeah,
president
Don
there,
wants to get rid of those too. Yeah. Yep.
because you don't have to worry about getting hit by a car. Yes, you do, I guess. But
Hey, even my
the more
partner did. My partner Evan, I remember when we were together, he actually got hit at one point.
by a
He was
bike.
he was in the bike. He got hit by a car while he was
He
doing the
was
bike.
he was riding his bike.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you step off the curb as a pedestrian, you got those guys go by on breakneck speed. They're
Yeah.
flying
Yeah.
by, and
Yeah.
that's the one. And the lanes are they close two lanes. They create two bike lanes,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
they wonder why the traffic is so massive.
Yep. Yep.
And the exhaust, and they're worried about pollution and exhaust. People, cars that are idling, waiting in traffic, cause more pollution than anything else. So I'm
Please.
glad the congestion prices are
Let's hope.
gone.
Let's hope there's no issues and he gets it out without a problem.
I hope
Because
so.
that there's people could be doing a dance to get rid of that.
And all this government waste, Donald
Unbelievable.
Trump. I'm so glad he's doing what he's doing, because man,
Yep.
we waste
Yep.
so much money that if he cracks down on that, if he just handles that one situation along with the immigrants. Now, here's the thing about the
Yep.
illegals.
Yep.
In the beginning, we're very gung ho as we're going to deport everybody. Everybody's going to go. But realistically, Joe, if you get the criminals, the murderers, the rapists, you get them out, these other people are more or less going to be left alone. Do you agree?
Yes. Yes. I absolutely. I mean, the idea that the media wants to paint the picture that grandma, your 80-year-old grandma who's been living in the country now, whether legally or not, for 20 years, that you're going to be taking her out is not happening. They want to get Tren de Agua out of here. They want to get MS-13 out of here. That's the bottom line. They want to get rid of the criminals. And look, I mean, you look at what these sanctuary cities, Chicago is a perfect example. They want to these different places. They want to fight Don. They want to fight this. You want to house these criminals? Is that what you want? Because that's really that's really what they're looking to do. And maybe find all these kids that have been trafficked. How many different kids? All hundreds of thousands of kids, 100,000s or whatever the number is that they don't know. They can't find in the country that have been trafficked. There's so much. That's what they're looking to do. It's like I said, it's not about your 80-year-old grandma that's been here for 20 years. But that's the picture that the liberals want to paint.
Well, they're actually they're informing people what to do in
Right? Can you imagine that?
case ICE comes to the door,
Right. Right.
and what
AOC,
they
how
should
about
be
that?
doing.
AOC was actually, she had like a web page telling you what to do if ICE comes. What are you kidding me?
They're
Come on.
not hiding it. They just do it right out in the open.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And it's dangerous. It's dangerous to the ICE guys. If they know, I think there was something wasn't there there was some leak in California that Tom Homan, the great Tom Homan, he's unbelievable, that he, the czar, obviously the border czar, that he thinks, was an FBI guy that was leaking the information about where ICE was going to be. And that's why with Kash Patel coming in now, you're going to see some big changes at the FBI. I can tell you that. Big
You
time.
like him?
I do. I like them all. I like everybody in his cabinet. He's got
There's
all
not one guy you disagreed with, or one person.
They're all big time people, bro. There's no nonsense. These people are moving and shaking type people. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you the
Pete
one thing that
Hegseth.
bothers me about RFK.
What's that?
Now, I don't know if you know this whole prank that he
I know
pulled.
I know there's a lot of issues with him. I understand that.
He's a little, there's something a little screw loose up there.
So
And
you think he is?
it's not that I disagree with a lot that he has to say,
Right.
but every once in a while, Joe, here's the thing that I'll throw at you that he did, and that it comes up from time to time. Do you remember the stunt that he pulled about a bear in Central Park? You
Yes,
didn't hear
I do.
Oh, you did hear. If you don't know, folks, he picked up a bear on a country road, threw it in his car with a friend, I think, drove to Central Park, left it on one of the trails in Central Park, one of the trails I used to run all the time, put a bicycle
You,
on top, like the bear got run over by the bicycle, and he did that. These are the things that bother me. He's a little unhinged,
a
and
little bit.
there's
He look, he's out. He's a very controversial guy. He is out there a little bit.
but overall, you like the pick, right?
I really do. I just think the big guys, there's a word I use. I won't use it because you got a family show, but
Who
big
says?
the big whats are back in charge. You know what I mean? I won't use the word
biggest, the big
I have
mockers.
used it, but I won't use it on your show, bro.
Well, and it's an overhaul, and an overhaul is good. It's like a colonic. We said that the
Yep,
last time.
yep,
Any kind of overhaul and overpopulated government that has so many branches that you don't want to even
yep,
think about it.
yep,
There are
yep,
so many things that when you want to get something simple done, Joe, you have to go through so much red tape in
yep.
this country. If he can cut through some of that stuff, we'd be better off, all of
Well,
us.
look, I mean, he's on a good look. He's done a lot. He's only been in a month, and he's done a lot of stuff already. I mean, the stuff with uh, uh, he came down with the executive order about the no men and women's sports. I know that was one of the great
That's a big one.
visuals. That was one of the great visuals. If you saw all the young girls around him when he
Yes.
signed the order, I mean, I thought that was tremendous. I mean, you know what? And he says this, and everybody right now that's part of the MAGA movement, if you will, says it. It's all common sense. That's all it is, Ralph. Common
Yeah.
sense. I mean, you know what I'm
Well,
saying,
the
bro?
women's the transgender and women in women's sports. If my daughter, I don't have one, but if I had one,
Right,
and
right.
this one of these guys are in the locker room with my daughter,
Of
I would have
course.
to personally go down there and make a big thing because I wouldn't stand for that. I could
Yeah,
just imagine a parent in those shoes, she knows or he knows that this guy is infiltrating the locker room. That's a disaster. I'm glad about that. That's another great positive.
yeah. I have a granddaughter. She's a junior in high school. She's 16 years old. She's an outstanding volleyball player. Hopefully, she's going to get some scholarships to play volleyball in college. And I sure as hell wouldn't want her playing against any, any guys, or have him, in the locker room hanging out with the
Yeah,
girls. And you know what I'm
hanging out
talking
is the right word.
Right.
And what did the swimmer do? What was her name again? His name, her name.
Leah
That's right.
Thomas.
That's right. So he's 500th or 400th in
Right.
the
With the men.
men's
Right.
side. He comes up, he wipes the floor with wipes the pool with every woman there.
Yep.
I mean, come on. It's like a Serena Williams thinking she's going to beat one of the men in their prime. It's just not. It's just
Right.
biologically
Yeah.
not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Right. Right. Well, look, I mean, we saw it in the Olympics. You had this trans boxer winning,
Oh
gold,
yeah.
beating up the women. I mean, come on.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, like I said, it's common sense, Ralph, and I think that's really what Trump is bringing to the table more than anything else. And look, I mean, the people like it. I mean, his approval rating has been better than it ever was in his life, in his political career. And the people are, they're for what he's doing. They're for what he's doing with Doge. They're for what he's doing with the illegals, with the deportations. So
I got to ask you a question in closing. I ask one
yeah,
question.
because it's almost dinner time. I
Yeah, I
smell it
know it's
out there.
dinner time. Do
And
you?
I love doing this with you, Ralph. You know I
Oh, I
do.
appreciate that. I love having you on, man. And do you miss the everyday, the schedule every day at the
No,
fan?
absolutely not.
You happy where
I
you
do
are
not
right
miss
now?
it. I don't miss it. I wish I was playing golf every day. It'd be a little better when we start playing golf again, 3 times a week or 3, 4 times a week. But now, first of all, I could never do the commute anymore, Ralph. No way could I commute to the city anymore.
I wonder how
I
you
look
did it in the first
right.
place
Well, that's what I
sometimes.
was going to say. I mean, I look back at it now and I'm like, boy, how did I do that? How did I
That's a
do
big
that
thing
all
to go
those
through every
years?
day.
Oh my God, and even the last, 6 or 7 years, I started taking the train. And
Uh-huh.
even that, you still, you never know. I mean, the train's delayed, there's all kinds of different things involved with that too. So, it was better than driving, but no way could I commute to the city anymore. I'm done with that. I just don't have the juice for that anymore. So No, do I miss it? Absolutely not. You
Well,
know, I'm fine doing the podcast a couple days a week. I'm fine doing my Saturday morning show, and you know, that's where I'm at.
and folks, that Saturday morning show, 10 o'clock on FAN,
Yep,
and they owe the
10 to 1.
pain comes out on Friday, and what
Yeah,
day?
I'll be doing one tomorrow. It'll be out tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, no doubt.
All right. Joe, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All
And
the best. My best to
I'm
your
glad
lovely
you're
wife.
feeling better.
Thank you. You too. Get better, bro. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
realize you had that big an issue,
Oh,
but get better, bro. But God bless
okay.
you.
Okay.
And my
Thank you.
best to your lovely wife too for mine too for getting us up and running here. Whatever we do.
That's for
So,
sure. Cindy loves you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Ralph, God bless, bro. All the love.
Okay. Take it easy.